Good?
One more.
All right.
Oh, this shit burned.
What happened? What happened? Tell me what happened.
We were just standing there, arms up, and they shot at everybody.
They shot the bullets, or?
Yeah, I got shot in the back, and it was throwing tear gas. Or mace, whatever. That shit burned.
I saw that the camera could be a weapon against poverty, against racism, against all sorts of social wrongs. I knew at that point I had to have a camera. Gordon Parks. In May of 2020, the world learned of Ahmaud Arbery after a video of him being murdered at the hands of 3 white men went public. It was at the beginning of the shutdown, and the news at the time was COVID-19. I remember actively trying to avoid that video because I couldn't care. It wasn't that I didn't care. I just couldn't. I didn't have it in me. After Freddie Gray, Trayvon Martin, Alton Sterling, and the many, many black men that have been murdered in the streets, I was numb. So I avoided that video for as long as I could, which was about 2 days. When I saw it, it broke me. I had just witnessed a black man being murdered like an animal, and it ripped me to shreds. I cried inconsolably. I was angry. I was confused because I could not understand how we were still being killed when we were supposed to be in the house. As a matter of fact, when they announced a shutdown and everybody else was complaining, I said, man, at least they can't kill black people. And less than a week later, this came out. We weren't even safe during quarantine. I knew at that point that I had to do something. I didn't have $1 million or any political influence, but I did have a camera. And so I decided to go to Brunswick to document the protests for Ahmaud Arbery. When I got there, I expected to see a handful of white people and a crowd full of black people that were angry. But what I found was a diverse community that was united, fighting for justice. This was about 2 weeks before George Floyd got killed. So the idea that it would be a bunch of white people fighting for justice for a black man was a foreign concept to me. I didn't realize it at the time, but that summer would be filled with people from around the world immersing themselves in the cause to fight for justice.
And everything in my society taught me that white people were better than black people. It was taught everywhere. And that's how I grew up. And our children are still being brought up in a society that has pervasive systemic racism.
That's right.
But you can't just come to a rally or read a book and be all woke and anti-racist. No. One activist says that racism is not like a cavity in the tooth that you can just go to a dentist and have him drill out and fill it. It's not like that. No, racism is more like gingivitis, like gum disease. And if you don't brush and floss your teeth every day, it comes back up. It'll come right on back up.
I went back to Brunswick the following weekend, and to my surprise, the images that I was sharing on social media went wildly viral. This was confirmation for me. I was using my camera as a weapon, and I was actually making a difference. I was pumped up, I was enthused, and just as I was getting ready to go back to Brunswick the following weekend, news of the murders of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd hit the airwaves, and I had to decide where I was going to go to next. I ended up going to Minneapolis because the city was on fire. As a black man, I understood how easily the narrative could shift from the unjust execution of a human being to how black people are wild thugs whose only motive was theft and destruction. So it was important to me that I go there to document, to tell the story from the perspective of people on the ground. But most importantly, I wanted to make sure that the black story was being told by us, not for us. I flew to Minneapolis with enough money to last for about 2 days. It wasn't much, but I had to at least try. I didn't know anybody, I didn't know where to go, and I didn't have a clue how I was going to eat. But the thing that I did know is that I've always been the type of person that would jump from the cliff and build a plane on the way down. I shared my images to social media, and this time I got an even greater response. People from around the world were sharing my content, and I had become inundated with messages and thousands of dollars of donations in those 2 days. What started off as me sacrificing to spend 2 days in Minneapolis eventually turned into me traveling to 11 different cities over 3.5 months. In my time documenting those protests, I realized the importance and the power that each of us have to influence change. But above that, I realized that each and every one of us has specific things about us that can foster change, that are unique to us. We all have weapons. We simply have to choose to use them. I watched as individuals shows their art, painting murals, making sculptures, writing, and choosing various forms of expression to communicate their hurt, their anger, and their hope for the future. I watched as those individuals created the art that would become iconic symbols of the time. I didn't realize it then, but as I look back, I see that those people had used their art as a weapon.
You're not doing anything, you fucking bitch! You're not doing anything! What the fuck? Stop! Stop it! What the fuck? Fuck you fucking pig!
Some people chose their bodies and lived with permanent reminders of the sacrifices that they made. These were the people that stood on the front lines marching as they were shot at, gassed, and traumatized by the sound of flashbangs exploding by their heads. Some people left those protests as mangled versions of who they once were, and some people never went home again. These were the people that chose their bodies and sacrificed their lives as weapons against injustice. One of the most infamous weapons that an individual could choose was their rage. Destroying property, burning down buildings, and doing everything in their power to make sure that their voices were not only heard, but felt. The choice to use rage as a weapon was controversial because some people thought that it only led to more division, while other people thought that the value of property could never equate to that of a human life. No matter where you stood in your perspective, the fact remains that those that chose rage as a weapon forced us to have necessary conversations around race and literally forced us to rebuild. When many people think back to the summer of 2020, images of burning buildings, chaos, and destruction are what they'll think about. And I got to admit, partially responsible because I was one of the people documenting it. But what a lot of people didn't know is that there were hundreds of individuals that made it their mission to clean, rebuild, and rejuvenate their communities. It was interesting because at night, there'll be these group of people that would burn everything to the ground. And the next day, these guys showed up to clean it up. It was so fascinating because I could clearly see how both groups were fighting for the same cause, but their weapons were literal differences between night and day. Whether you choose your pride, your culture, or your privilege, everyone understood that their voices could be used to foster change. That summer, millions of individuals came together to immerse themselves in a fight toward a common goal and the fight for justice. History is filled with individuals that have made tremendous impacts on society, and they did so because they understood a simple truth. The world needs what you have to offer. Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Martin Luther King, Benjamin Crump, and various other individuals have made tremendous impacts on society, and they did so because they chose their weapon, immersed themselves in their purpose, and went to battle for what they believed in. We all have the ability to change the world. We simply have to choose our weapon. My time documenting the 2020 movement for Black lives showed me how important it is for each of us to step out and do what we know to do. to choose our weapon. But most importantly, it showed me that there was no cause that was greater or more important than any other. We each have the ability to contribute to the machine that moves society forward. All we got to do is choose our weapon. Each of us have had a time in life where we've been frustrated, we've been upset, and we said, you know what, why don't they fix that? And I'm here to let you know that I believe that frustration is directly connected to your purpose. It's the times that you feel, somebody got to fix that, I'm frustrated, I'm upset, that it's life telling you that you're the person that's supposed to do it. While you wait on everybody else is waiting on you, because remember, the world needs what you have to offer. I'm going to say that again because I need y'all to take this with you. This is my personal motto. The world needs what you have to offer. And all you have to do, all you got to do is choose your weapon. Thank you.